All right, we are back today for my usual uh, schedule. I've taken a few days off after the Handmade Network Jam concluded, so today we're going to be doing some recap on the Bin Dash project. As usual, reminder that this project, as well as everything else I work on, the Four Coder Fridays, the work on the Mr. Fourth Base, the arena videos, and blog posts that are coming about those topics, all of that is funded by people like you who are watching and who make the decision to go check out mrfourth.com/membership and become a member or a supporter and get access to some of these cool perks along the way. Much appreciated to anyone who makes that choice. So, with the Bin Dash project, I was jamming on it until a few days ago. It ended on Sunday. Today is Thursday. I've been taking some days off from streaming just to rest my streaming voice and my eyes from the screen. Also, I've been sort of planning out next steps, thinking ahead about what I'm going to do. If you go over to my unscripted channel, I've published a video just now about what I'm thinking of doing next. And so there's a lot of detail I discussed in here. If you want to fully know what I'm thinking about working on, you can also find Bin Dash Jam version over on itch.io if you want to download it and play with it. It only runs on Windows right now. It only works on PE and COFF files. But if we go through some of the stuff that I thought about ahead of time here, we can see some of the main big ideas are to take the bin dash idea and generalize it with a plugin system so that it can take in any raw binary format and construct a visualization data structure that can then drive the user interface that you explore. And I've got some interesting stuff here. Analysis of what the current bin dash structure looks like. Some questions about how the interface might be rearranged. Right. So check out that video if you want to see what the long-term sort of program of what I'm going to be looking for is all about. But for today, I've got a to-do list. And I think we'll just start. We'll start transforming this project into a long-term, a long-term development project. I think after today, I probably won't do as much bin dash stuff on stream because it's no longer really going to be appropriate for research type stuff. It just needs to be quiet time programming. So I'll probably spend more of my afternoons on this. But for today, I think I can spend some time restructuring the project that I've been doing on stream and getting ready for this longer term process. So I originally called it PE Viz, and I want to change that. So why don't we start there? It's living here in my. I'm gonna put on some chill music. I also think I need to go and blow my nose. I got like a little itchy spot right on the inside of my nose that keeps bugging me as soon as I started streaming. So I might have to take a quick break for that. But let's see. Okay. That'll work. Give me just 1 second. Alrighty. So right now it's living in here with all the other PE files that I've written. I think I want to get rid of it from there and move it somewhere else. So I'm going to close both of these and switch to browsing on it this way. Hey, it did a cool trick. That's nice. And music. There we go. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Okay, all of these things that say PEV are no longer right. We're going to rename them all to BD. Nice. Okay. Okay. Next up, I want to isolate everything that is PE specific into separate files. That part's going to be tricky. BD stands for bin dash, and tree is the tree is just the name of one of the interface data structures that bin dash provides. Does that make sense? Do you need more explanation? Okay, so basically all of this right. Well, I don't really have to do it that way. If we do this. Okay. Okay, so I can go like that. All right, next up, I want to try to make it so that these wouldn't even need to be visible. Let's see. The analysis structure. Can go without those. All right, that's all still working. Okay, so basically what we're looking at here is all of the PE specific stuff being pulled in here, and here is just sort of a part of this plugin layer. Could we begin defining the plugin concept today? All right, so nothing has changed. Perfect. Now, can I kill off these parts? And set up a new step in the build. Okay. So this fails because we need to load the plugin. Okay. Now, bin dash wants to work, but when we go to build the DLL, it's still failing. So what is all of this? We need okay. Yeah, annoying. All right, I got an interesting question. Um, how do you make a living and support yourself? Well, right now, I am working on starting this. Um, I'm working on starting this laboratory. So I was previously working you know game industry job for a few years, and in my spare time, I learned how to put together a website and built my own little sort of Patreon style subscription system where you can get access to perks for becoming a monthly or yearly uh, subscriber. And I am attempting to turn this into uh, a long term viable way to support myself while I work on these projects that I value. But we're still waiting to see if that's going to work out. I could work on this for a couple of years and ultimately determine I have to go back and get an industry job. So I don't know. But right now I'm just living off of savings from working as I try to build up the income on this Mr. Fourth Lab. Hope that answers your question in a useful way. All right. I mean, if you've got a job at the game industry, then it's a way to get income. I'm not saying it's easy to get in. Um, I happen to work on projects for people in the game industry at the right time in order to get connected, and I was rather fortunate that way. A lot of people who go through the classic route of applying for jobs, it can be a difficult path to go through, but I kind of got in through the research side rather than through just standard game development. So it's a little different. Somehow this is getting included twice, and I don't know how. I see it. Okay. Okay. So all these things for constructing the binviz stuff need to go and live in the binviz layer. All right, let's see. Okay, nice. There we go. Everything's working, except now there's bin-exe, but there's also bin-.pedll, which exports that parse function, binviz from data. Cool. All right, so that's the basic idea of the plugin system. Now, obviously, there's stuff I haven't done, like how am I going to actually organize the plugins? How am I going to decide how to load all of them instead of just one fixed one? There's also stuff like I'm going to actually just start writing these things down as I'm listing them off, because I've got my to-do list here, and basically what I'm doing is taking the first little steps to figuring out what it's really, really going to be like to start working on the polish here. So there's how am I going to get all of the plugins? Like, is there going to be a plugins folder? That would mean changing the binary. There could be separate folders and like a config with a list of the paths to all the plugins. So one way or another, there's some way to organize the set of all available plugins. Then I want to I need to be able to say I've got like 5 plugins installed. How am I going to know which one to apply whenever I load a file? There's a new question. And here's some stuff that's not questions that needs to happen. There needs to be a binviz namespace that is separate from bin dash. I want to try to work this down right now. This is sort of my plugin temp boilerplate. Work down the plugin boilerplate. code. So that might mean getting rid of the keywords, trying to get to the point where none of this is boilerplate. This is just a part of what it takes to parse PE files. So like there's my boilerplate. There's PE parsing. Right. And this is just the plugin functions or the target header, whatever you want to call it. Beijing Turner says, it seems like good timing that you recently reviewed 4Coder's plugin system. Yeah, no kidding. I mean, it's not entirely by accident that I ended up on a plugin system now. I've been shooting for this. I do a lot of disconnected things, a lot of apparently disconnected projects simultaneously, but there's actually intention behind it. It's not necessarily like I know exactly how it's all gonna line up, but it's sort of more just like, you know, I'm building up separate projects that I know will synchronize nicely if I get lucky that the timing happens to work out, which sometimes it will. Speaking of which, since you brought up 4Coder Friday is still going to be happening. So even though it's been an off week, tomorrow we're doing 4Coder Friday. I don't know what we'll review on 4Coder, but that's the goal, is to have 4Coder Friday next week, or tomorrow. Okay. Let's try to live without the keywords now. Okay. So yeah, this one will also need to undergo that transformation. now. Makes the lines really long, but I feel like I gotta keep it like this. Spreading it out makes it all unreadable. Right, okay, so okay. Still feel like that's the wrong order. Gotta check that out. Okay. Okay. Let's see. So this is the starting point of what the plugin authoring will look like. You'll have to point at Mr. Fourth Base and at binviz to get started. Those are the two dependencies you need. The base layer and binviz, which describes basically the interface data structure. between the plugin and the main program, and it also explains. I think what I'd like to do, based on this setup now, is like I said, if I look at something like PEDLL, the exports appear to be in the wrong section to me. I think that should not be in the data section. That should be in the R data section. So the fact that data section has already begun feels like there's a mistake in the offsets in here somewhere, and I'm not sure why. So I want to track this down as a bug and see how that feels, see if Remedy can actually, see if the debugging workflow works, all that. Okay. Okay, so right there, the marks have already been sorted. I want to see this part, I suppose. Where does... I want to see those get marked up. I want to see that get marked up. Fear of Code asks, what do you think of the Zig programming language? Well, I don't think that much about it because I haven't spent that much time playing with it. Uh yeah, I don't know what to say besides like I just don't understand why so many people get so excited about talking about programming languages. If I'm being honest, I don't get it. The longer I've spent, the more time I've spent programming, the less I've felt this automatic default sense that programming languages index technological progress in a meaningful way. And I think a lot of programmers default assume that a program the best programming language of our era, whichever one that is, happens will indicate how good our technology is overall, or it'll be a factor in determining how good our technology is. And I just don't know that any of that is true. So, what do I think about Zig programming languages? I don't know why in the larger culture of programming in general that question even seems reasonable. Does that make sense? Like, I just don't get it. I don't get the programming language thing. And I might just be missing something, but I've never really been convinced. Or that's not true. I used to be convinced and I became unconvinced. Because right here is the mistake. It's using export voffs, which it shouldn't be doing. Yeah, those don't match. Okay, now exports appears to be more where it belongs. Yeah, I guess if the question is what I think about Zig programming language because This is a good point someone else is bringing up. I always forget to think about why other people ask questions like that. If your question is if I think it's worth your time to check out and learn Zig, I think the answer is if you already have a programming language that you know how to get stuff done in, then there's no need. I would just focus on getting stuff done in whatever language you know how to work in. If you can't target what you want to target and Zig targets what you do want to target, then yeah, you have a reason, right? But I think 99% of the quality of the software that I see people write comes down to how much time they spend getting really familiar with the target platform and the tools that they are using. And so not changing tools too often seems way more important to me than picking the right tools. As long as those tools are relatively feature complete and stable, you will eventually get good enough to use it for doing good work. Okay, so debugging pretty much just worked. I was able to go into PE parse and see the problem and fix it. So another big thing happening here is right now my dumper is set up to run on PE parse. Because originally PE parse didn't exist, and I created PE parse by pulling out little bits of code from dumper. So the dumper code got manhandled and rearranged and refactored to construct PE parse. But I don't think a generalized parser is really possible. So I think what needs to happen eventually here is the code in PE parse needs to get baked into the code right here, the bin-PE. Like, this is not just any old parser. This is the parser for the bin-dash visualization. And there's a separate parser for my dumper. Now, I think there's a way I can restore this one. What I have to do is sign into my Git history. Go to my repository. Look at the history of the bin dump or PE dump file. Okay, so PE dump now works and it is not tied to parser at all. So now this parse stuff and the bin dash PE stuff can start to just become one thing. So by putting these in the same space, I am preparing a process of fusing that into one unabstracted parser. Okay. Same thing about PE parse.c. That needs to pair up with all of that living right here now. Okay, so the dumper looks fine. Nice. Okay. Okay. So we can do some namespace consolidation here today. Um, Later, paging Turner. All right, not bad. Alright, so everything's still running, except now everything that has to do with abstracting the plugin is defined in this file here, binviz.h with the bviz layer. Bin dash itself is all contained in the BD layer and is responsible for loading the plugin, which has the parser. And so there's no PE parsing specific stuff anywhere in here anymore. Okay. Cool. So yeah, bin dash is now completely separated from the PE cough specific starting point that it had. The only thing PE specific is during initialization, I load the PE plugin. Okay. Almost there. As a final step, I want to close both of these and give them a separate home as well. Let me think. Yeah, something to think about in the future is how do I want to organize the plugin files? But cool. Um, nice. Okay. Yeah, let's do. Do I want to track down and simplify what happens there? Just start fusing these functions together. And then over time, I should be able to get to the point where I don't need any of this parse structure at all, because it's just going to be a bunch of local variables that I use to construct the binviz structure. But I think that's about as much as I want to do for today. So like I said, this is about to turn into a long-term development project now. There's still research questions to be done, so it might show up on stream from time to time. But it might be time for some of the stuff that needs to happen here to be happening off stream, as it's a lot of busy work and organization and rote stuff that I think I will be more productive at off stream. I'm having a quick look through what I did today. I did the PECOF isolation. I did the parser plugin structuring. Well, there are things which are code that I write to answer questions. So the comment that I'm responding to says that it's interesting that I distinguish between research and a long-term project. What I mean by a long-term development project is like I am now generating to-do lists that look like this. Let's see. Right, I've got like all these things to do. And a lot of this has nothing to do with unanswered questions. I mean, there are some research questions in the mix there. But a lot of this is just stuff I need to do in order to turn this into more and more of a useful tool. So there's nothing to learn for me. It's just work to do. Now, that might be interesting for some people to see what I do and learn from it, but it's not as productive. I can't explain it exactly, but there are different types of projects. There are different types of problems, and some of them are very well suited to the streaming format, and some of them are very poorly suited. And like this, what this recalls for is for me to get deep into a flow state and just crank stuff out, which I can't do on stream as well. Twitch streaming is really good for sort of sloppy work that you want to do as fast as possible to answer an unanswered question, which is much more research. Whereas getting deep into the flow of development and knocking off your to-dos, that's not really research as much. That's just working as a programmer. But sometimes you got to go back and forth. Like a research project can involve both of those activities in the small, right? So to get on with some of my other binary file research stuff, I think a good visualizer is going to make a big difference. And so I want to dive deep into the development of this. With that, I'm not going to go for any more today. We've done a good amount of programming on stream. Tomorrow is 4Coder Friday, so my usual streaming time, but we'll be working on learning from something in 4Coder. I can't remember exactly what was up next, but there are a couple of things I've spotted as somewhat busted that might be worth looking at next. So we'll pick one of those and go with it. And then I'll be back next week for some kind of new research projects to get started on. I haven't decided yet what we'll do. I might stream less than every day. I've been shooting for 5 days a week. But now that I've got this bin dash on my plate, it might be smart to wind down to 2 or 3 days a week and save some of that time for that deeper work that the development of that tool is going to call for. So we'll see what my schedule looks like moving forward. But I'll at least be doing 4Coder Friday tomorrow and every week, and I'll do at least 1 or 2 other research streams a week. So you have that to look forward to if you want to help to support these ongoing projects. Remember, MrForth.com/memberships, where you can go to become a part of that, and it's much appreciated to anyone who does. Also, as a reminder, let me make sure I've got this. Yeah, if you go over to Unscripted, Mr. Forth Unscripted right here, you can see the project pitch for the bin dash video. There'll be a lot more detail about the kinds of stuff that is going to come up in this project if you go check that out. And you can also go to itch bin dash jam version and check out the version that I shipped for the Handmade Network Jam on Sunday. With that, I will see y'all around the internet. Thanks for coming around. Bye.